Oh, I'm live. Oh, whoops. Oh, hello. Hey, thank you all for coming. I guess I'll get started kind of right now. Um, the first poem that I'm reading is called Earth Mode, and um, it was a part of my thesis project that the sculpture Black Narcissus that's in the Bug World show was in, and initially it was like a part of a performance project, and that I made like in tangent with the sculpture. So the sculpture and that has been like 3D rendered for the show, as well as the poem Earth Mode, kind of like go hand in hand with each other. And the sculpture Black Narcissus is kind of like the stage, and kind of like a portal for Earth Mode, and kind of like what is happening in Earth Mode. So yeah, I just wanted to start with that to kind of um, yeah, give you like an introduction to the work in this like really amazing show. Cool. So I thought I was deep in the dream, but this whole time I've been caught in my own reflection on the restless surface of the black water. Beneath its mirror lies the pulsating potential of the things that I have been told I can and cannot do. From up above, the earth glows like a blue marble on a string. But down here, the concrete is flat. The heat swelters, and fire hydrants on the block loosen their bolts. A gusset of water blows out and floods the ground. And deep below the surface, the earth breaks open. Below the concrete sidewalk memorials, lost earrings and broken chains reveal themselves. Braids from brown Rapunzels knot together to form a net. The black water and hot concrete under the swamp city gives way to a torrent of slush. Maybe it was a burst oil pipeline, or maybe the water, itself in its most transient thoughtlessness, had shifted like a mood ring to match the deep black ore and black smoke that permeated every fuckable thing in its dirty synthetic ecosystem. She-males, mulattoes, mermaids, mixed race babies, modified by systemic rape and sometimes chosen intermixing. I sit in asthmatic stupor in asbestos snow. I lay between them and say nothing. Inside myself, I see fragments of my mother and father. Except, like two sides of a coin, they do not see each other. Letters from my past selves roll out like links in a daisy chain. Of ancestors that cut ties with their future and left it to crumble. And others who look down and ask, "Son, what did you do with your body? Take it off and show me what you're truly made of." Every minute, the sidewalk gets hotter and hotter. Apartment buildings and hair salons burn for insurance money, creating a pink haze that sits below the clouds. It scorches the tops of skyscrapers, causing a rain of metallic silver to fall on unsuspecting pedestrians below. Is it a climate crisis or the untimely failure of progress? Is the limit of our progress its failure? I look up at a head in the sky staring intently at me. A perverse rendering of a face, it says, "Doll, this is the end of your time." Black sludge overtakes me and water stings my nose as I fall under. Deep in the ocean now, I notice black goo emerging from the high-speed network cables that trace the spiderwebs of colonization and transatlantic slave trade. They slowly break open under pressure from shifting tectonic plates. Hairline cracks travel from the bottom of the Atlantic to the concrete cliffs that stand against the tepid ocean water. It's biblical in proportion, but as intimate as masturbation and death. Melancholy lingers after both, as if to remind us about the precarity of our own subjecthood and the certain habits that form in its wake. Body horror and the lingering urge to self-deprecate. A river of black oil and water runs to the edge of the city. Sidewalks become causeways over liquefied aluminum and melted trash bags. Games of hopscotch bridge girls and boys across the wasteland towards their saving. Finally, I come up against a clean white wall in my mind's eye. It is flat and smooth. I think of my family and the earth I called home. I look down at the destruction of the flood and breathe relief that I have finally found rest. And then the next poem is Imaginary Anemia. I make a list of the things that I will leave for you when I'm gone. A box of drawings I made as a little girl. Flowers and animals twisted together in ecstasy. The birds and the bees fuck each other furiously. A butterfly 6 feet 5 inches tall in platform heels with post-op pussy serving cunt. A butterfly 6 feet 5 inches tall in platform heels with a post-op pussy serving cunt. A trash bag filled with Payless pumps. Beauty supply cherry lip gloss. And hoops that don't rust. One time I was with this John and he asked me, "What do you dream about?" I want a house for me and all of my friends, and we would live like family. I would take turns tending the flower garden and washing the dishes, and all the girls would be there. We would look down on earth and the rest of you dishes and laugh. An imaginary anemia follows. The space between here and what is lost is like a rubber band. I make myself a slingshot so to fling myself backwards. Enter a broken woman who is humble and subservient. Enter a broken man with a collection of people and things. And finally enter a broken child who, like clockwork, sleeps all day, as if she can save the world through slumber, or sleep through the pain of the man and woman, or sleep and the pain becomes imaginary, or sleep and see the truth of it all, and that there is no truth and nothing but the truth. Next, a picture kept in a filing cabinet. A medical document of sorts. Reveals a cracked spinal cavity and warm oil that has seeped across the abdomen and settled into the belly. Here, a snake rests at the base of the spine. A cracked eggshell and limp sperm swim to the surface. These are the things that have been left for me. Except on Earth, gravity is not universal and no one feels its pull the same. Even memory becomes warped over time. Colors shift and lines extend. Numbers emerge from the chaos, and I keep walking to avoid falling. The next one is called Transfuturism. I stare into the full moon and pray that its magnetism repels my flesh from this wretched form and makes, for the first time, an attempt at escape. Some sign of an end or beginning. Here, fossils and fleshlights lie next to each other peacefully. Corporal matter transforms into the virtual and back as fantasy. Sex becomes a confirmation of what is real. The end times become the beginning. Like a cyclical turn, of a guilty boomerang, or as if a pendulum broken off its hinges flung itself onto the floor in sharp tantrum against the linear construction of time and repetition. The machine cogs click on and so forth, turning the timer back again to the beginning. I was dropped off here, or rather, here was the place I released myself of my form. Like a silk robe, it dropped to the ground. The butterflies nesting in my stomach freed themselves. And suddenly, I was nothing and everything. It is not that history repeats itself because we do not learn. Time is a constellation, and we make meaning through linear form. My ancestors breathed through me, and I remember the lapping waves of the ocean and its future ecosystem that will last longer than civilization. All exist simultaneously inside the life cycle of my body. Okay, and then this next one is called Death Fantasy. A secret order of saints, house mothers, and watchdogs stand guard over a small colony of opium-filled caterpillars that sit on the moon, spinning husk cocoons for dead trans women and their ancestors. In the cocoon, a fantasy with no definition becomes a pornographic display of estrogenic wet dreams in the divine feminine. I watch myself on Earth talking to a John or crossing the street. The concrete feels like a wall of exhaust smoke. In my mind, I step back and watch the impression my body creates. In this space, my body flattens itself. On Earth, I pray. Dear Martha and Sylvia, I look for you in the sidewalk cracks and in the sky when I'm under threat. On a good day, I can feel part of you in me. If you're watching, please send a sign. Last year, Dejanay Stanton was murdered 10 blocks away from me. Fantasia Bell was murdered that same day. If we didn't know each other, but their passing made me wonder. Where do all the trans women go? We are worth more in death as a hashtag than when we are alive. Is there a number of times we must say her name before she can find peace? Is there a back page in the heaven I dream of? Fragments of this death sequence, a dream, follow me as I leave the house. Of butterflies on the other side. And then this next poem is called Trans Time. Behold an underwater pearl, tongue jewelry for the nastiest clam bitch. Underwater, if you hold the pearl in your mouth and swallow, you'll feel a magic current shredding corporality and pulling your body backwards. The tireless waves flatten themselves out as you drift into borrowed time and, with closed eyes, can see a shifting dark web. Discarded memories and lost messenger chats coalescing into bots in the lingering future tense. A shifting self-realization that takes on many forms. The Starbucks mermaid in the Gulf. A nail tech burning acetone on her jeans. a construction worker eating a sandwich under a troubled bridge. Martha, the interior designer, paints a picture of a hipster's ayahuasca retreat with boho chic details and lots of plants. In her bungalow, Betty, the insurance analyst, lays out a yoga mat and presses her body deep into the floor. Pelvic rise and swing. Betty, the insurance analyst, is free as a dodo bird, jumping from tree to tree. She imagines herself in the shrinking Amazon, and maybe she, through sheer projection, can will a seed into the breeze and rest on a plot of fertile land. Meanwhile, Nina, the nail tech, files away French tips while watching the Travel Channel and imagines her body floating in the ocean, just above the magic pearl. You see, fishes in the ocean are just one part of this equation. Mermaid girls may frolic here, but in truth, some fishes walk on the ground. Their legs swing like a pendulum, spiral into transfuturity where bodies are malleable and time is unfixed. And then I have one last poem, I guess, that I'll read called River Jordan. A small crowd of angels visit me in my sleep. Their bodies, like stars, are a conduit of desire. Sorry, my text is messed up on here. Let me try and... Sorry, okay. I'll start from the beginning. A small crowd of angels visit me in my sleep. Their bodies, like stars, are a conduit of desire. The River Jordan asks very little of us. I try to do the same and lay in shallow water, imagining a celestial magnet tugging my body gently but firmly somewhere else. And where would you go if you couldn't find me? And what would I do if instead the magnet pushed me deep into the earth's mantle? I mark echoes in the dirt as my point of return and find myself in the things I leave behind. I begin to love them like sickly children before I release them into the water. Cool. Okay, well, that is all I have for today. Thank you all for coming to the reading. So yeah, the show's like I guess you're in like virtual space, and there's like a stage, or this is like kind of a stage. So make sure to like check out the whole show if you haven't yet so far. And thank you everyone for coming.